Hello, NAAIA community. Get ready to relive insightful discussions, gain fresh perspectives, and be inspired by the wealth of knowledge our community has to offer. Let's dive into another episode.
All right, you guys, look, we're super excited to be here with you today. We know your time is valuable. So today's topic is on marketing, but better yet, we're going to make sure that you're able to leave out of here with some actionable items and then also some friends, right? We're going to get to know our panelists, Miss Whitney Thompkins, much more intimately than we did coming in. And so not to even be on a scary part, we're going to talk about how this fits into your authentic marketing message. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelist, Miss Whitney, to come on and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how'd you get into insurance?
So hi, my name is Whitney Thompkins. I am from Michigan. So I, like most insurance agents, we don't just say we want to be insurance agents when we grow up, but we kind of like stumble into careers. So I have a marketing background, and about 8 years ago, I took a job for a producer to do his marketing. It was a single producer. He had about 4 individuals working for him, and I was one of those individuals. And as I was working with him and I began to assist him with his marketing, I really realized there was a lack of information within my own community. So here I am sharing the information, and I have all this good knowledge, and I'm talking to individuals getting richer, but it's people who are back home. It's people who are from my community who look like me, who will not ever get access to this information unless someone like me who stumbled into it was willing to give them that information. So that's exactly what I did. So about 2 years ago, I went ahead and I started Your Family, Your Legacy, which is my life insurance company, and I haven't looked back. So
Congratulations on that. Rapid succession, but you're nowhere new to this industry as far as to even the marketing side. So as we're diving into it, we're going to be sharing, once again, applicable, like real life experience, not just stuff you get from the textbook, not stuff that you get, from subscribing to YouTube. We're going to answer questions and just talk more in depth about what it looks like to create this marketing message, to be the marketing message, and what it means at the end as far as your return on investment. So let's start there. Coming from this marketing background and even servicing a producer who wasn't yourself, yourself, how would you say that's influenced developing a marketing message?
Well, I would say the first thing it did was my producer was successful. He was very successful. So it put something in me where I realized I could be successful in this industry. And I think that's important when you decide you want to sell anything or be in any industry. You have to know that you can do it. And because I was under someone who did it and did it well, I was like, and not only did he do it, but when I came in, I was able to double his revenue. I knew that I had something that I could offer. So that gave me the drive I needed, because at the beginning, the marketing wasn't hot. Like, it wasn't working. But I had the drive within me because I was under someone who did so well that I knew if I keep trying, if I keep going at it, I can get this. And for me, with the marketing, what I did with my marketing was, at the beginning, just like, you start listening to everyone else. Everyone's has the great idea. Everyone is the best new marketer. Everyone is the best. And I started getting swayed. Like, I knew when I started my business, I wanted to work with individuals my age. I wanted to work with young adults, or now I'm probably middle-aged adults who are, starting their families, and life insurance will be valuable for them to begin purchasing at that stage of their life. But this is a big final expense market. So everyone was like, oh, you need to do final expense. You need to do this. You need to do that. And I started kind of dabbling. And then when I started dabbling, I saw money coming in from it, and I got excited. But I realized quickly it wasn't sustainable, because it wasn't something, one, I enjoyed, and it wasn't where my heart was. So I began to find myself, chasing after the dollar versus just being myself. Like you said, being my authentic self and just being who I am. I had to call more and feel like I'm trying to beg them or chase after them to get something that they actually told me they wanted and they needed. So that was the first step. If we're talking about actionable items, the first step is figuring out who you are and who you want to serve so you can understand how they communicate.
I like that as the first step because a lot of people think the first step has to do with the product. But like you said, if you have a good feel and understanding of who the audience is, you can then align the product to really match that. So that's the gem right there, you guys. So if you're taking notes, she just gave you a big one because that is where many organizations waste money. Would you agree that many people, like you were saying, as they're influenced by having to do ads, having to do dance videos, if their audience doesn't relate to that, it's money wasted because the cycle is much longer. You mentioned something really powerful too when you were explaining that you were measuring your interaction, and you even use that F word, right? Well, I'm not sure if you used it, but you implied it in saying that it wasn't going so hot. So what were some of the indicators, other than the obvious, right? But what were some of the indicators that this was a time that you needed to do some tweaking, some soul searching to better align your message?
I was frustrated. I was like questioning if this was the industry. I was questioning, hey, should I get a part-time job? I was, all those things, all those negative thoughts was coming in, and it was just hard. It was so hard. It was like unnecessarily hard. Like, why I'm selling something that's of value. So why am I working so hard to sell something of value? I can see working hard to sell crap, but I'm not selling crap. I'm selling something of value. And when you're selling something of value, it should speak. And it wasn't because I wasn't connecting with the right people. Now, there is people who are in this industry. I'm particularly in a life space, but this can work in any type of sales. There's people who are geared and designed. I met a lady on TikTok who is going after the final expense market, and her mom had passed away, and she has this beautiful story, and she talks to children about making sure their parents have final expense. That's her lane. That's her lane. Her heart is for it. It's not going to feel so much like work for her. For me, it was hard. It was tough. And I felt like every day I had to recharge myself just to do what I needed to do to put food on my table. And that was the indicator of, hey, Whitney, like, you're too smart for this. You know what you need. You need to like go back to the drawing board, figure it out, because you want the people to come to you. You don't want to go to them.
Huge piece, because like you said, we all only have our 24 hours. And so how you spend that effectively and then to be able to duplicate those efforts is really where you start seeing that. So you're kind of leaning in, as you mentioned, into the life space and then just creating that message, marketing message, and, this big thing called social media. Can you speak a little bit on how do you find your space, your feel, and analyzing what works best for you on social media?
So it's funny because the producer I was working for during COVID, obviously everyone was shut down, right? So we were shut down. The government shut down our state, and we were trying to figure out how to pivot. We were doing seminars, and I had been telling my producer, like, let's look into doing webinars, because I just felt like we only could get in front of so many people doing seminars. We would have to literally like add more seminars. That was more nights I was out from my family, and I was like, why won't we pivot to webinars? And seminars was working, and that's difficult. When you're doing something well, it's difficult to pivot because you're like, why would I miss out on this money I'm making to do something that's not a sure thing? So we ended up during the COVID, he was like, Whitney, let's look into the webinars. So we ended up beginning to do webinars, and it was so like hard to watch him at the very beginning during these webinars because he was like a fish out of water. And I remember I was like, look, I'm going to start your webinar. I'm going to start it. I'm going to come in. I'm going to introduce you. I'm going to introduce the people. I'm going to start it. And I remember just like doing that. I was starting his webinars, and all this time I'm not knowing it's preparing me to start my own business, because now I'm speaking in front of a camera where no one's talking back to me. And I would prepare, I would start doing his webinars at the beginning. And when I transitioned to my own business, I would go live on Facebook. And this is just showing you like preparation. And this is why it's important. When I tell people this, from last year, from I want to say August to December, I didn't make $1 from life insurance. I did not have one sale. And during that time, August through December, I was rebranding. So at this point, I was from January to July, I was tired of working hard trying to get it. So by the time August came, I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. I have to just stay in one lane. I cannot be doing everything. Well, in January of last year, I started going live. This is before I started branding. I just started going live talking about life insurance. Let me just tell you guys about life insurance. One day, my friend was like, Whitney, this guy is on live on Facebook. And he's talking about life insurance. He's looking for an agent to hop on. And I was like, well, I'm busy right this second. Can I do it in 10 minutes? She was like, just let me know when you're ready. So she sent me the link. I hop on the live and I'm watching it, and he's talking about life insurance. So I'm thinking, why would she bring me on here if he's a life insurance producer? But then I realized he wasn't one. He was just giving his experience of what recently happened with him. And there was supposed to be another insurance lady that was supposed to get on the call, and he kept saying her name, but she wouldn't hop on. So my friend texted me and said, ask to join the live. So I clicked and I said, can I join the live? I hop on the live. So we're on this live. This man has 4,000 people on this live. And we literally talked for 45 minutes about life insurance. Soon as I got off the live, and this is preparation, I had redid my website. I was ready because I was doing a mailer, and I was preparing myself for the surplus from the mailer. I didn't get not one person from that mailer, but because I was prepared, as soon as I got off that live, my phone went crazy, like ding, 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 like all over the United States. People were like, at this point, I was just licensed in Michigan. Like, it was like dinging crazy because people just wanted to work with me because I was just sharing the information. And that was like an indicator, because that was in January, and it started getting tough after that, because that was like a peak moment. And we have that when you don't have a clear direction, you will have peak moments, but then they go back low. Peak moments, and then they go back low, because you really don't have directions. But because you're moving, activity will come, and you're going to have that peak moment. So that was a peak moment. But then like March, it started dying back down, and then it starts slowing out again. And then that's when I realized, like, I can't wait on these peak moments. I have to get my branding clear. I have to get my story clear, because I need to be consistent. And I will tell you, with rebranding from August to December, I didn't make not one sale. From January to now, I had made my yearly revenue in March. In March from last year, and I've been pretty consistent. It's going straight across now. I don't have those ups and lows. It's consistent because my branding is clear.
Wow, that is an awesome story. I heard so many great parts. And as Kevin just said, luck is what happens when preparation. I didn't get the last part of it, but that's what I heard. That's what really stood out to me in your story. Although you didn't anticipate the audience, you didn't even know to whom you were going to be speaking, you arrived, you showed up, you delivered, and you resonated. But not only did you do that, you were able to capture the moment. You know, you had your things in place to be able to have that flow into those things that you needed. And I think that's one of those things that keeps us from having the peaks and valleys and starts evening things out. Measurement is another thing I heard. You were tracking. You knew your months of no revenue and plus revenue. You know, a lot of times I've just in environments, whenever I ask somebody about their numbers and they don't know them, they don't have them. I mean, it's just kind of just very blatant, you know? And so I love, and I can hear your consistency, because now it shows you, it gives you tangible evidence in the form of data of how you can go and make those corrections, what trends you're seeing. So in your business now, Tell us a little bit more. So as you were talking about making your messaging clear, who is your target audience? Kind of like help us really see who you're focusing on.
So my target audience is me, women who are between the ages of 30 to like 45, who are starting families. So they have very young children, and actually what I did was my message became to the children. So I didn't even try to sell life insurance to adults. I just went straight into the children. You think about we talked about it. You think about companies who literally just have, their whole business is surrounded by children's policies. And I said, well, what if I just like talk to the parents who are buying these policies? And that is what I did. I started just like doing videos and lives and doing stories about children's policies. Don't put yourself as the don't just have you and your partner name down, because if something happened to you and your partner, what happens to that money? It has to go through probate. I started having conversations about if you have a policy on your child, but you don't have a policy on yourself, when something happens to you, what happens to your child's policy? How would they pay it if you don't have a policy on yourself? And then my message, so I'm really just talking to that woman. And now with me talking to that woman, because I've evolved and now I can talk to that woman about her children. I even now sometimes talk to that woman about her parents. And usually in talking about the parents, I say, this is why your parents don't have large death benefits. It's because they have done this. Do you make that same mistake? So it's very important. I remember when I first started doing like social media, and it was like, just keep posting. And it was so frustrating to me because I was posting a lot. When I tell you, every single day I post, every single day. And I was posting like, not just like quotes or cute pictures. I'm like doing videos. Like every day I'm doing videos talking about different aspects of life insurance. And this is just one area I'm in, it's life insurance. And they keep posting. And I'll never forget when my first video went like semi-viral. And I was like watching it like do these numbers, and it was just getting larger and larger. And at this point, I'm like doing a little business. So I'm at this point, I would say I had about 5 people booking on my calendar a week. And I remember the video went viral and I didn't get one appointment. And I was like, oh, so what's the purpose of having a viral video if it's not going to show a revenue? And eventually it just like, it kept going. And that was on like TikTok versus like, I realized like videos that go viral on Instagram, I get more clientele from it. So before I even reached 1,000 followers, I was getting business from social media. So that's why it's important, because sometimes we think, well, I don't have a large audience, so I'm not going to post. But you don't have to have a large audience. At that point, I didn't even have and TikTok won't let you put your email address on your profile until you have 1,000 followers. All I had was a little envelope. People would click that envelope and say, how do I get in contact with you? People would send me messages, how do I get in contact with you? Because I was giving them value and I was interesting, and they knew. And like every time I talk to someone, they say, literally keep doing what you were doing. Keep doing what you're doing. And that's what was irritating me on Facebook. I was doing ads on Facebook at the beginning of last year when I wasn't clear with my direction. I would have seen like my parent age, like individuals my parent ages, booking on my calendar. So I'm excited thinking this is a lead. And I would call them and they would be like, I just want to let you know you are excellent. Keep doing what I'm like, you wasted a whole lead. Booking to tell me I'm doing great. You could have sent me an email or sent it in the comment section. So it was those things where it's great to hear. It's great to hear that people want it. And we don't think that people always want what we have, but we just have to find the people who want it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you touched on some other things too. And I want to give some of these technical pieces, utilizing your background in this marketing, that it wasn't just haphazard, you're just having fun, and you're already hearing she's tracking, she's using analytics. So I would like for you to talk a little bit about some of those analytics and what those numbers were telling you about your audience, as well as just even talking about how and if you are taking some of your social media into an in-person type environment. like your networking events? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So to be honest, I started in person. So when I first decided that my niche was going to be parents, what I did was I started drafting emails. So I sent emails out to schools, to like the PCA departments, to daycares, and I was like, hey, I want to introduce myself. My name is Whitney, and I specialize in children's life insurance policies. And I like drafted this email, and I was sending this email out. No one will respond right away because this is new. And that's the thing, when you really like create your own lane, when you figure out, and I mentioned this yesterday on our call, figuring out what you enjoy doing. When I decided to go this route, I had just had my daughter. I'm a mom, so I'm like dealing with postpartum. Like, I wanted to connect with other moms, and it was more of a personal thing because they will understand my daughter is screaming in the background. I know me 10 years ago, I wouldn't have done business with me because my daughter screaming in the background would have been a huge turnoff. So I could have not targeted people who were like me 10 years ago. I had to target people for where I was in that season, and people who could almost heal me as well and what I was dealing with. So if you know you like a certain area, focus on that area. It's going to be easy to get up and talk to those people because it's an area you like. So with me, I worked at schools. So I had a background talking to principals and things like that. And I ended up finally getting one yes. And they say, get that one yes. I got the one yes for a school in my old local neighborhood. And this school is associated with other schools. So then I leveraged that yes. So this was before I even taught at the school. I was calling the other schools like, yes, I'm at this school. I'm speaking about life insurance, and I wanted to know if you wanted to bring this to your parents. And then I would begin to get more yeses. With me doing it live, I really wasn't seeing, it was taking too much time for me to go out. And like I said, I still had a young daughter. So I began to just post. I really didn't know what was going to take off. Like, I didn't know. I took all the avenues. How can I connect with this target person? I can connect with her at her kid's school. I can connect with her on social media. I do mom expos. I can connect with her at expos. I can maybe connect with her at a farmer market. So I thought about how I can connect with this individual. And then I put all those things out there, and I saw what worked. For me, social media worked, but it could have been the in-person visit. And actually, I want to do more in person. That is an area that I feel like I'm not as great at when it comes to getting the deal. So that is something that I want to stretch myself, because I don't want it to be an area where I'm missing my target audience. So I do want to, that's something I want to improve on. But yeah, I started in person because if you think about your area, if you can get your area, that's enough business to drive you. Because even if your audience is senior citizen, guess what? Every year it's going to be a new senior citizen. So even if it's just in your radius, you're going to catch them when they hit. And that was my boss. He was very clear. We had our target audience was individuals from 60 to 70. He didn't try to gear from that. It was a certain income. We didn't gear from that. To be honest, it was a certain race. We really didn't gear from that, even though it wasn't my preference, but we didn't gear from that. It was very specific, and he made millions by being specific, and it helped me to get clear in what I wanted to do as well.
That sounds like a great mentor right there. I mean, to show and to lead and to really help show that business case. That's kind of the technical part.
My mentor. I'm sure I wouldn't have got all that I got if he knew he was raising up a dragon.
Hey, but sometimes that's the best teaching. I always say, as a former teacher, that experience is what's going to actually say. And like Precious just mentioned, modeling success. How can you really learn from someone if they're still trying things out too? And so that's a huge nugget, because you were open. You guys tried new things together. Like you were saying, how he was very uncomfortable at first being online, but then it was just like, hey, the times are changing. And, these times, each day is a new opportunity. Even if things worked well in the past, we just have a new breed of people that haven't been taken care of before. I mean, people will always say about this is a field that's oversaturated, but yet statistically, there's still people doing GoFundMes. So you still have a lot of opportunities. As we're getting some questions, and again, the chat is open for questions. What do you find to be one of the challenges in marketing? So as you were becoming clear, and you really are an expert at that, I want to give you your kudos for that. You really did a great job to have those tough questions with yourself, to also have a business case of what is profitable, because sometimes some things aren't. And we got to be real with that. We're chasing, as they say, missionary work, and you have to really see, is this where you want to go at it? But what are some of the challenges that you personally found in developing and clarifying your message?
I would say the big challenge, and this is even just me talking to other agents, is that those 6 months of no money. Like, I think that's the biggest hurdle when people have to decide, am I going to make my marketing clear? Am I going to make sure that people understand what my brand is and who I'm here to serve? Is that you have to be willing to have that time of nothing possibly, because it's hard to really make your message clear if you're still running behind the dollar of the individual who isn't even your individual that you want to connect with. So that's where I see, and even for me, it was a hard time. I didn't know. I knew that what was on the other side, but I didn't know for sure if it was going to be on the other side. And when I talk to individuals who, and these are individuals who aren't necessarily in the life space, that they're in other areas of insurance, and I say, well, after we talk, I'm a teacher and I'm a marketer, so I'm like, after I dig deep with them and we determine who their target audience is, I do the same thing I just said. I say, okay, where does this target audience stay? Where do they live? Where do they hang out? And we get this whole clear plan. But when it's time to execute, when it's time for them to actually say, well, I'm not going to run after that final expense that I can get $2,000 or $3,000 for. I'm not going to run this Google ad, because at the end of the day, if I Google car insurance salesman, do you know how many, car insurance salesman, do you know how many people going to come up? It's going to be a laundry list of individuals. But if I like to go golfing, and you're at the golf place, and you're an avid golfer as well, and you have made your branding, your message clear, you're going to be more likely to get my dollar.
No, definitely. There's a technical aspect of it, as well as you said, diving deeper. It's going further in the surface, and that's where you really can create and qualify your clients, because you'll see all their other needs. Go ahead.
And that's where it's hard, because you're almost telling someone else no to sell the people you want yes. And that's where I think that most agents have the most difficult time. And that's across the board. I have a friend that's a real estate agent, and we have this conversation all the time, and she does prospecting and calling. And I said, Tiffany, they got to come to you. They got to come to you, girl. I'm telling her, like, do this, let them come to you. I have anywhere from 10 to 20 appointments on my calendar every week. All I do is post. I'm not asking for these people. Like, all I do is post. They come to me. Like, I have put myself in position to be seen where they are, and they come to me. And that is hard, it's scary, knowing that it's a possibility that I'm gonna not have income for a while. So just put yourself in position to be able to do so. Like, I'm saving my coins, because I know that I'm about to rebrand, and this might take a 30 days or 60 days or 90 days before I can see the reward of my investment. But I know it. I'm telling you from my experience, I didn't 100% know what was on the other side, but I can tell you what's on the other side is easy. Not having to work so hard, talking to the people you want to talk to. And it's challenging times in it, but it's night and day compared to last year, night and day.
Absolutely. And I could co-sign on that. If you become that person that comes top of mind when someone thinks family, and they just seen your post, and you're connecting to them in all those different areas. And I'm so glad to hear that you're a teacher too, because that's something that has really strengthened my marketing outreach, because as teachers, I think we are formally able to kind of see what the initial question is and not get distracted by all that extra stuff, all the extra information of, okay, so they happen to do this, but is that still your target? So as a reminder to keep your marketing clear, clean, keeping it direct and intentional, are some other parts right here. So I just also wanted to make sure we're touching on any question.
Be wrong. I don't turn nobody away now. So if I have someone that wants to buy a final expense policy or whatever, I'll sell it to them. But that's not who I talk to. So I can sell anyone, but I'm not speaking to those individuals. I'm speaking, and I might make a post here and there because I talk about what's relevant. But 85, 90% of my marketing is to my target audience. And at the beginning, 100% of my marketing was towards that individual. It takes time to be able to then spread through it. Like now I perfected the mom with young children, but now I can talk a little bit more about their parents now, or but perfect one area before you move on to the next. And don't try to do everything. Take one area, take one product, learn it so good that you can talk about it, you can connect with them, you can sell it, and then pick up another area, then pick up another, and then becomes where you're the go-to person for that, whatever that product is.
Absolutely. An analogy I like to share, and then I'm going to share a question from the audience, is just when you cast your net, you may be fishing, but you might pick up a crab or two. You might pick up a big fish as well as a small fish. And then you start looking at, so if I cast my net in this certain area, I'm going for this type of fish. I'm going for this particular thing that I've done my homework to see is there at this time and place. But as I'm pulling up the net and I've got other things within the net, I can now see other opportunities. So we have a question here from Victoria, and she says, so as we're talking about psychographics, how do we get the information to gather or even get more information on these target markets and psychographics? So more so the psychology behind where to find your target audience. Where are you gathering that information?
Well, I would start with who you are. So that if you have no interest in medicine or anything, don't target doctors. Like that makes no sense, because now you have to educate yourself on what they're educated on as you're educating yourself on product. So take an area that you already are somewhat familiar with. So we all have a history, a job history, or things that we enjoy. So let's say I didn't have my daughter, and I thought about this. If I didn't have my daughter, if I would have got in this industry when I was 24 years old and I bought my first life insurance policy, I would probably be targeting college students or individuals fresh into their careers. And I will be talking to them about ways to be able to establish maybe building, wealth or generational wealth for themselves, or starting foundational policies. I'm big on foundation policies, having a foundation policy that when you do begin to have children and you do begin to get married, you can then add policies on to that, versus you look up and you're 60 and all you ever had was term policies, and now you have to buy a policy and it's so much money for a little bit of death benefit. And that's why, we leave our families $100,000 less than our counterparts. So that would have been my area then. Another area, people who just got married, people who don't have children, they have money, 2-income homes with no children. You can be helping them. There's life insurance, and I'm just talking about life insurance because that's my area. There's life insurance policies that have fertility riders. Do you know how people are having trouble having kids? If you can talk to these individuals with no children, and I'm not even talking about this stuff, and it's just stuff that I see where I see opportunity. I talked about yesterday, mortgage protection, connecting with real estate agents, connecting with individuals when they first buy their home, going to Home Depot and Lowe's and passing out your business card. You're making your home beautiful. Is it covered? These are places where other insurance agents are not. And if you're someone who likes construction, that is a good area for you to be in, because now when you go to Home Depot, you're not a fish out of water and you don't know nothing. You just in there passing out flyers, but you in there and they ask you a question like, oh yeah, I redid my deck yesterday or last year and I used this. By the way, I'm a life insurance agent. If you want, I'm an agent where I focus on mortgage protection. So that is how I would say finding the details of the individual. Don't steer too far from who you are. So then it's easy to connect with those people because you're already an expert in that individual because they're you.
It's authentic. Absolutely. So here are some 5 quick hit questions for you. So again, and she says, thank you. So you spot on with that. So 5 questions just so we can get those applicable, jewels, because you've really, again, dropped a lot on us. And this is one of those topics, you guys, marketing as well as just business savvy and acumen. This is stuff you could go to, graduate level on. You could spend years really getting into this, and then you can have work as you go type tips and such too. So hopefully this serves as a work as you go. You'll continue to chime into these agent roundtables, hear from agents who are working their strategies, and even further, connecting with the people that are being presented here, because it's just not this environment, but you can see her out in, different NAAIA organization type conferences. You can, again, catch her on social media. You can watch some more of her lives. So here's our 5 real quick questions, and then also taking a few more questions here in the chat. So first one is a this or that. So paid or organic marketing?
Organic.
Organic. All right. So this or that. General or niched?
Niche.
Okay. This or that. Immediate or long term? And that's a little bit of a trick question.
Immediate.
Immediate. Okay. I kind of know where you're going with that one, so I like that. What would you give as a piece of advice for someone who feels that they're stuck in marketing?
I just gave it.
She said everything, or y'all not here?
Like everything I just said, figure out who you can serve, figure out who you can serve, how you connect with that individual, and focus in on that space. That I don't have anything else. It's just that simple. Just figuring out who you can connect with, how you can connect with them, and being where they can see you. And after that, it's easy. And if you're stuck, if you're someone who you're watching this and you're stuck and you haven't written any business, or you're barely surviving anyway, why not? That's how I feel. Like, I ain't doing that great anyway. So why not reinvent the wheel? Why not figure this out from here? Because I'm not I can see how it was more difficult for someone who is very successful or who's doing well to pivot. But if you're someone who's looking for success and you're not finding it where you are, what does it hurt to pivot?
Being humble, being available, being authentic and true, I think is definitely the message you've shared with us throughout this presentation.
Thank you for watching this flashback episode with NAAIA. We appreciate your time and hope you found the insights valuable. Stay tuned for more enriching content. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the NAAIA community.